Hi there, it's Lorna. Recently I was invited to run a couple of classes for another school, and while I can't share with you the name of the other school, I certainly have been given permission to share the actual classes that I ran for them, because the content for them is going to be tucked up nicely in their paid for school. But I've been able to have the opportunity to share the content and the classes with you, and this particular class is on the personal peace procedure, how to use it as the tool to get beyond anything in your life that you are not happy having, those memories, those bothersome thoughts, things that were said, the events that happened. So come with me on a journey and let's do the personal peace procedure together. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the class on personal peace procedure. I am so excited to be invited here to do this series of classes for you that are really EFT based, EFT tapping, emotional freedom techniques. For those of you who aren't exactly 100% familiar what EFT or tapping is, we're going to do this class and you're going to do some work in the class, but we're also going to teach you to do some tapping as well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lorna Hollinger and I own the Australian Tapping Institute. I am an EFT trainer, master practitioner, and I run this global online school to teach people to be EFT practitioners and mix in with some life coaching and personal development and business and marketing, and get you to graduate being able to just create great businesses from being an EFT practitioner. Now, today's class is on the personal peace procedure. Now, just bear with me. I've got multiple screens running here so that I can swap between the slideshow and the handouts, etc. for you to keep you up to date with me. So come along on a great journey. Get out your journal. I also gave you a workbook, so you should have been given a workbook by your school before you started this. If not, just do it in the journal and come back to the workbook. It's not essential, nothing special has to happen in that book. It just keeps it all together for you. So personal peace procedure. I first learned about this many years ago. It was the first self-help book that I ever bought, and it was by a guy called Dr. Phil McGraw. Many of you all know Dr. Phil from TV, and he created a book or wrote a book called Self Matters. Now, gosh, we must be going back, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago but at this point in time. So when I read his book, the premise of the book is to write down anything that defined you. Now, but defined you, he was talking about anything that bothered you, events that happened to you, things that happen around you. Now, for me, I was just one of these people that my life it just happened. It just was, it just is. I didn't think anything that particularly had happened to me was particularly defining, if that was the language that I wanted to use. My mother had died when I was 18. I got married when I was the week after I turned 20. I had children. I had two sons at that point in time, and horrendous births and blood transfusions and babies resuscitated, a fractured relationship with my dad, a whole bunch. I had no women in my life. There was just all these things that they just were. They weren't things that I thought were particularly out of the box. I didn't think anything particular about them. They were just my life. So when I've got this book about defining moments, I didn't really write anything in it, to be honest. I still have the book and I still kind of giggle about this book because I read this whole book and didn't think I had anything that had been particularly impactful or had been particularly life-defining or life-changing. So when I've come across a couple of years later and I have found EFT tapping, we have a process in EFT tapping, which is the personal peace procedure. And instantly, as soon as I looked at it, I recognized it is so similar to the defining moments. The difference with EFT and tapping, what we do, the defining moments in the book were about identifying them and knowing them. EFT tapping actually gives you something to do with the emotional charge and intensity about them. And that's why I love adding the tapping into this, because it just gave me a tool to actually do something with them. And that's what I want to give you, is this tool to be able to do something with all these moments that sort of happen to you, these things that happen around you, the events, what people say. So let me go into EFT a little bit for you. My theory with EFT, or the way I like to describe it simply and easily, is number one, what's the first thing you do when you pick up a baby? You pat it, or you tap it. We tap babies on the back all the time. We tap babies on the bottom all the time. We as humans instinctively know that tapping works, that tapping actually soothes the stress response in the physical body. We know that happens because particularly women are the best at it or the worst at whichever. We pat babies the minute we pick them up. We just instinctively do it. So that's what happens in the brain. So let me just take you into, so we've got the patting happening and the tapping happening. Lost my train of thought, back to it now. I believe that when an event happens to you or something happens to you, what your brain does is, imagine your brain like a little bunch of little recipe card boxes. Remember those old-fashioned recipe card boxes, and a little box and it had little bits of paper in there and you wrote recipes on. I think the human brain is very similar to that. Now, imagine something's happened to you when you were, a toddler. A dog barked at you. Easy example. Dogs barked at you when you were a toddler. Brain tags, dog's scary. Get to the age of 5, some friend's dogs run up and licked you on the face and you got a little bit frightened by that. Oh, another thing in the box, a dog's scary. A dog chased you when you were a teenager. Your friend's dog jumped on you when you were a bit older. Fast forward to today, you're afraid of dogs. Now, generally in the brain, it doesn't bring up all the past fears every single time you get afraid of a dog. So a dog barks and you get a fright. You get the stress response in your body, instant bzz in your energy circuitry. What's happening is your brain is going back to that little recipe card box and filing through it and going, yep, scary, dog, scary, things with dogs, scary, yep, scared, scary. Now, my belief also is that we are not afraid of things in the present moment. What you need is a reference point of a scary moment for your brain to go back and reference. Without that reference point of the stuff that has been tagged from your past, you've got nothing to be afraid of, because if you're afraid of a dog and I'm not, it doesn't mean the dog's scary. It means the events that have happened to you in and around a dog have been tagged as scary in your brain. So a dog barks and jumps, you get afraid because your brain's got reference points that says that was a little bit scary. So what we do with EFT is we remove the stress response. We remove the trigger in the brain that goes, oh, recipe card, scary, fight or flight, triggers, bzz, energy circuitry in the body. You know, that little flush that you feel. We want to stop that. We can't change the fact that the dog barked and the dog jumped on you. We can't change that. But we can take the emotional intensity out of all of it so that that is no longer a stress response for you. And that's the aim of what EFT aims to do on all sorts of things that happen to you, all sorts of events and memories that you have. It's about removing that emotional intensity and that tagging from your little recipe card box so that the events that happen to you today are no longer stress response trigger spots for something that's happened in the past. Now, I'm going to assume that that's all made sense, and I know that I talk through things fairly fast, and it's just my training style, but you can always stop this class and go back to it and play it again, and make sure you write notes. I tell all of our students, I said, I run a school myself, take notes, take notes, take notes, take notes, take notes. There is something about taking your own notes and describing it in a way that makes sense for you that really imprints it into your brain. Absolutely imprints it really completely into your brain. So let's go back to the personal peace procedure. What is it and what are you going to do with it? What I'm going to walk you through is a process, and the process of the personal peace procedure is about documenting each of those memories. Not taking you into the trauma of them, but documenting them almost like movie titles. Little couple of lines here, couple of lines there, couple of words here, couple of words there, just so your brain knows what to go and reference. Now, when I first did this, so I've done the Dr. Phil stuff, and I had no defining moments, and I even roll my eyes at myself on that these days. I was just so disconnected with who I was and what was going on for me. So when I did connect in, and I did this with my EFT, my first sort of EFT introduction stuff, I wrote, a couple couple of pages. I'd been divorced. I'd been divorced twice by then. No, I only had one divorce by then. Caesarean section children, blood transfusions, mum dying, fractured relationship with dad, taken away from all my family, had no cousins, no family in Australia whatsoever. So when I got in to do the personal peace procedure, the first time I wrote, I don't know, maybe about 2 pages. It was a full-scope book, and I got the concept and I understood it, and I just started writing, and I got about 2 pages. So then I would have done some tapping and I would have done some therapy work, and I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on it. It was just one of those things that I did. When I came back to that, which was a couple of years later, I was very, very much aware, very focused, very much understood who I was, what I stood for, what I did, and how I did it. I went back to the personal peace procedure and I wrote 12 foolscap pages. 12 foolscap pages. And that was like, oh my goodness. I had no idea how many little bits and pieces in my brain bothered me, and little bits and pieces of memory, and little things that happened that triggered me. I had no idea. No idea. But let me give you the power of doing this work today, and then I'd love for you to do it for probably another week, spend a little bit of time on it. Every single day is going to pass. 365 days in a year are going to pass anyway. Imagine spending 5 minutes, 10 at the most, every day for the next 365 days dealing with one thing that you're about to do on this list that you start. One thing. Every day. One thing. I'm going to show you how. I am going to show you what to do and how to do it. And I'm going to give it to you as a gift so that you can actually start to shift and reduce the stress response, the anxiety, whatever else you've got going on by all these things in your recipe cards. And I'm going to give you the tool to do it with. All right. So we'll probably spend, I don't know, maybe 25 minutes today on this. We'll run it as one whole course, and then you can break it up and you can use it at your leisure, because it's in your course module. So you'll have access to it as long as, for the period of time your school tells you that you've got access to all of your information. I don't know what your school rules are, but this is where it's going to be. So come for the journey. So 25 minutes, grab your journal, pen, paper. There is a workbook. You would have been given a workbook, but you can use your journal. You might need the 12 foolscap pages that I had. The workbook doesn't give you 12 foolscap pages space, so you might need a journal. You might need something else that you're going to go through. So why do we do this exercise? Why is it important? This exercise is going to help you to focus on the underlying issues, the thoughts, the triggers, the memories. In EFT tapping, we have a methodology, and we know it as table tops and table legs. So if you were to say to me, I'm afraid of a dog, great example, I'll go back to the dog. I'm afraid of a dog. My partner wants to get a dog and I really don't want to get a dog. I'm afraid of the dog. I really go to jelly anywhere around a dog. I'm not going to do tapping with you on the dog and your fear of the dog. What we want to do is we want to go down and find out those events and memories. Remember the little recipe card box? We want to go and find each of those, and we call them the table legs, and release each one of those to be able to release what's going on today. So I hope that makes sense. Your tabletop is the thing that you can tell me is going on, and your table legs are where I know all of the work is to release all of that. Now, so I've got 2 screens. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything for you. Alrighty, so yes, think of this as a brain dump. So the exercise, we're going to start the exercise in a second, and we're going to do it as a bit of a brain dump. I'll pause the video, or you'll pause the video as we go, and the idea being that you'll come back when you've done some of this work. Don't spend days and days on it before you come back. But there's a number of ways you can do this. There is no right, no wrong way to do it. You could start it from a space of, you could start at your birth, or even pre-birth, before you come on this earth, sort of past memories and stuff like that, past lives that you may have. So imagine you started from birth here, and you could work your way through your life, age of 1, age of 2, age of 3, age of whatever. And you could do it that way. And you could just specifically do it in date order. Or you could choose a specific person. Could be parent, grandparent, sister, brother, whatever. You could choose a person. You could choose the most challenging relationship of your life, perhaps, and you could start there. Maybe that's your workplace, maybe it's your children, don't know. But you could start at a specific place like that. Now remember, there's no right or wrong way. It's how this is best going to flow from you. One thing I do not want you to re-traumatize yourself if something is particularly upsetting or it's particularly deep and you know, let's use the word scary. Don't start there. Just try not to start there. Because I'm not there with you, so I can't work with you directly one-on-one to bring you out of it, to bring you out of the trauma. If you have stuff that's particularly scary, Australian Tapping Institute, we actually have graduate practitioners that you can work with. You can work with me if that's someone you want to work with. We have a range of people where there are practitioners who are actually skilled and trained to take people into this deep stuff versus what you can actually achieve on your own. Alrighty, so what I want you to do, I want you to get some pen and paper. I want you to spend some time. I said I'm going to pause the video and then I'll come back to it. I would like you to probably maybe spend 10 minutes at the absolute most on this. I'm not going to stay here and hang out with you for 10 minutes. So spend about 10 minutes on this and then come back to the class. All right. When you come back, I'm going to tell you what to do. So what do I want you to start with? Let's go to the next slide. I want you to write down a list of I said in 10 minutes, so you got 10 minutes, all the troublesome thoughts, those bothersome memories, the things he said or she said, the things that they did to you. And I don't want you to write a detail of it. I want you to write 3 or 4 words. I've got some examples on the board there. When my dad hit me, when my brother Pete teased me, when Auntie Meg said I was getting fat, when that dog barked at me, when the teacher told me off, things like that. So start at things that you can remember and just write a couple of word titles. Do not go into it. Do not write a story. 1 sentence. Movie title. Think of it as a movie title. The movie title is what, 5 or 6 words at the absolute most. 5 or 6 words. Write down a list of everything troublesome, bothersome, everything you can think of, and start the list. And I said again, you can do it in date order. You can do specific person. You can do specific event, specific emotion. There is no right or no wrong. So I want you to write your list. I'm going to leave this on the screen for you. When I come back, we are then going to pick one and we're going to look at it. I'll take you on to the next slide, which is simply how to do it. Date order, starting with early memories, pre-birth, group memories, whatever. No right, no wrong. When we come back, I'm going to show you what to do with this. We're going to pick one and I'll show you how to pick which one. And we're going to move through the next exercises with you knowing what to do with this specific one. All right? I'll see you in 10 minutes. You've got 10 minutes starting now. Go. Alrighty, so welcome back. Your 10 minutes is up. I know you had your own timer on and not my timer. So what are we going to do next? You will have written down your list. I don't want you traumatized and I don't want you to pick something that's so incredibly painful and hurtful while you're there on your own. I would like you to pick something that is something that bothers you, that something has an intensity. We're going to start to look at intensity ratings. So I want you, there we go. I want you to pick, better sentence. I want you to go through your list now when we're together. And I want you to pick the ones on your list that have the biggest emotional charge. Mark them with an X, mark them with an asterisk, I don't care what. Mark, highlight, I don't care. Just go and mark the ones that have the biggest and the highest emotional intensity for you. Now just start at the top of your list, work your way through, and I'm going to leave you for another couple of minutes and I want you to do this. Mark the ones that have the biggest, highest emotional intensity, the ones that you can actually feel. As soon as you read them, you feel them, you know them. I want you to go through and I want you to mark those, and I'm going to meet you back here in a couple of minutes. Give yourself 2 or 3 minutes at the most. Go. Okay, welcome back. Now, you now have a list. You now have this list marked off with the ones that have the highest intensity. Now, if you were doing your personal peace procedure and you don't have a big list, if you don't have more than 50, I would suggest that you need to go back and address it again, take some more time, spend some more time on it because you're worth it, and get at least to 50. It would not necessarily be normal for someone, or maybe normal is not the wrong word, it wouldn't be usual or typical for someone to get into an adult age and not have more than, or not have less than 50 things that have triggered them in their life. They don't all have to be bad and really traumatic, but everybody's got things that have happened to them, said to them, or been done to them that actually affect us in our adulthood. So you've gone through and you've got your list, at least 50. You've gone through and marked, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 at the most. Don't get too hung up on marking all of them or rating all of them or even thinking too hard about them. So just mark them off at your rating. So now I'm going to get you to pick one. Pick one. It doesn't matter which one. Just pick one. Just one. So what I want you to do is, let me show you what the workbook. So you would have been given a workbook that looks similar to this. That would be what the front of the workbook looks like for you. Get your workbook and start working on it in there. If you do not have it handy, don't worry. Just go to your journal and write the sentence down, because we're actually going to start to do some work on your first movie title in your defining moment. Alrighty, so workbook, journal, does not matter. My defining moment is, now I want you to write that down. My defining moment is, write down the name of the movie, the one that you've decided we're going to work on and sort out. Just write it down. However you wrote it, the name of the movie. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what did I tell myself in that moment? When that moment was happening, not when you wrote it, when that moment happened, when that thing happened to you, around you, near you, whatever. What did you tell yourself in that moment? Because it's the stories we tell ourselves, the conversation we have in our own head, which is the meaning we give that event, that's what causes the tagging in the recipe boxes. All right, so what did you tell yourself in that moment about that event? Next, as a consequence of that moment and the beliefs that you created around that, what do you tell yourself today? So back to our person who had the dog. As a consequence of the dog barking at them and the beliefs that they created that mean dogs are scary, what do they tell themselves today? They can't have a dog. Their children can't have a dog. They can't go near a dog. All dogs are scary. All dogs are going to attack them. As a consequence of that thing that happened to you and the beliefs that you created around them, which is the what did I tell myself? That's where your beliefs started. What do I tell myself today about this issue? Write that down. And then let's look at, what's the price you're paying today for that belief? If it was, for instance, the dog, very, very simplistic one. Maybe dogs isn't the one you should be working on. Let me just add a quick caveat there. Deal with something that's a little bit more, dogs might be your thing, but yeah, I'm thinking maybe something that's a little bit easier to gauge in terms of time frame. What's the price you are paying today for the beliefs you created in the past? If you're terrified of a dog, what are the beliefs? What's the price going to be in a year's time? What's the price in 5 years' time? What's the price in 10 years' time? If you continue to hold those beliefs as you have them. Yeah? So that's what you're going to do for each one of these. Every single one of them. Get a bit of an idea of what's in this, what prices are going to pay you. And then, are there any beliefs that you want to keep? Are there any beliefs in there that you want to keep? I want you to circle them. They're part of a conversation that's about secondary gain, and secondary gain is the payoff that you get for hanging on to that behaviour as it is. That's what secondary gain is. Not everyone loves that term, but that's pretty much what it is. It's what's the payoff for you for hanging on to that belief system and hanging on to that behaviour that may or may not serve you? What's the payoff for you? So you're going to go through and you're going to circle some of them, and you're going to get some ideas of the ones that you want to keep from a beliefs perspective. So you're going to do your personal piece, You're going to write down what that defining moment is. What was it about those moments? And then you're going to start to look at what did you make it mean about you? What did you make it mean about the world? What's the belief system you've got because of it, so that we can start to pull some of it apart. Okay? Alrighty, so what I want you to do now is we're going to move on to the tapping. You will see the tapping points on the screen. It's a graphic of where the tapping points are, but I want to actually show you on your body where the tapping points actually are. Okay, so I will need to take my glasses off. So firstly, here it is, it's on the karate chop point. All right? And what I want you to do is I want you to pick up what your little movie title is. So whatever your defining moment is, your little movie title, you're going to insert this, because obviously there's lots of you on the class. So when I say, even though, and you'll repeat for yourself, even though I have, insert your movie title. So whatever it is, even though I am afraid of whatever, even though I get annoyed at, even though I have, whatever your movie title is, even though I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So again, repeat it again. Even though I have, or I am, or whatever your movie title is, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And last time, even though I have, insert your thing, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And that's our karate chop. Now let me just walk you through the points before we go further. The side of the eye is here, in where the hair is, actually in where the hair is. And it doesn't matter whether you do one hand, two hand, 3 fingers, 1 finger, doesn't matter. That's the side of the eye. I'm sorry, the eyebrow. The side of the eye is here. Not in the eye, and it's not in your temple. It's down here level with your eye. And the other one's under the eye. Then the next one's under the nose. And this one's called, some people call it the chin, and it's on the crease. Some people call it under the lip, but either way, it's in the crease. Right? Next is the collarbone. So the collarbone is in and around here. Some people tap with their fingers. I like to do it flat-handed. I just find it's really easy and very subtle. Most people don't notice you doing it. I'll tend to do this public transport, whatever, and people don't even notice that I'm doing it. Now there's another one that's under the arm, and it's kind of just above where the bra line is, gals, and for the guys, 1 or 2 inches below your armpit. So it's in there, and then there's the top of the head. Now you'll see there on the diagram on the screen exactly where they are. Now there isn't a direct correlation between that and the chakras. You'll notice the chakra dots are there. It was just pretty and I really liked it, so I've kept that. So there's our tapping spots. There is the eye, side, eyebrow, side of eye, under nose, chin, collarbone, underarm, top of head. Now there's another bunch of them. There's some on the wrist point that people like to use, and the fingers. We're just going to use those standard ones that I showed you, okay? So what I'm going to get you to do is, we've done the even though. I want you to tap with me, and I'm going to tap on this point here, and I want you to say what your defining moment is, whatever that couple of word sentence is. This, insert your words, that I have. Again, this, insert words, that I have. So I'm going to stop us there. Forgot to do what we call the SUD, subjective units of distress, subjective units of intensity. Doesn't matter what you know it as, but 0 to 10. 0 being there's no intensity, no emotional intensity, no stress, no reaction to it whatsoever. And 10 being top. It's off the scale, really, really high. I want you to think a number, feel a number, know a number, see a number. I don't mind which one, but there will be a number. And if you go, I don't know what number, just guess. For the point of this exercise, just guess, because you will actually be closer to the number than you realise. Let's continue. Write your number down. Let's continue. Under the eye. And you're just going to say your movie title again. This, whatever it is that I have. This time when my dad hit me. This time when my dad hit me. This time when my dad hit me. Or whatever yours is. Tapping along with me. Whatever. Repeat it again. And I want you to repeat it again. Same thing, just don't change it. Stick with the one thing. This thing that I have, keep saying it. Again. 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 And don't get hung up if we're going fast. It doesn't matter. Just say it. Keep moving through the points with us. And again. Keep moving through them. Keep saying your sentence. Whatever your movie title is. Keep saying it. Keep saying it. Keep saying it. Saying it. And one more round. Your movie title again. And your movie title again. Your movie title again. And again. 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 And again. Time to stop tapping. I want you to feel. I want you to feel into your body and feel what you're experiencing. I describe tapping as it's like the blood starts moving in my veins. I have found no better way to express it or to explain it to people. My blood feels like it's moving in my veins, and so that's the explanation that I go with. I don't know what you're feeling, but I'm trusting you're going to be feeling something. Now I want you to check in again. Think of that movie title, and I want you to check in. I want you to know a number, feel a number, hear a number, see a number, and I want you to write down to what intensity it has come down to. I want you to check in and work out. Not uncommon if it's peaked and spiked. It probably means there's some other stuff under the surface there that you haven't actually quite dealt with, or other things coming up. Very, very normal, particularly when you're working on your own. If you're with a practitioner, you're with someone skilled and trained, you've got the opportunity to deal with that. But at this point with this class, we're just going to leave it there and talk to you later on at the end of the class what you could possibly do about this. So I'm assuming your number's coming down at least to a 3. If it hasn't come down, if it's still higher than a 3, I want you to go back and do 1 or 2 more rounds. Stop the video, 1 or 2 more rounds, and just repeat the same phrase again. Don't change it, just repeat the same phrase again. So we're going to continue on, and I want you to tap along and continue tapping with me. And we're going to add in this remaining, whatever it is you have, this remaining, I don't know, time when the dog barked at me, this remaining time when the dog barked at me, whatever your thing is, this remaining, insert your title, this remaining, and yes, the emphasis is there on purpose, this remaining, this remaining, this remaining, one more round, this remaining, this remaining, this remaining, this remaining, add it in, this remaining, this remaining, this remaining, this remaining. Now I want you to check in again. So if you are not down to, I don't know, somewhere closer to a 0, a 1 at the most, stop the video, go back again and do it again. Now some points of note here. Make sure you've stuck to the same movie topic and haven't bounced into any other topic. Stick to the one topic, get rid of it first, then you can go to the other ones. If you need to, in the middle of your tapping, if another word comes up or another event or something comes up, stop and write it down, but don't go there, don't chase it. Come back to your original statement. Remember, your brain is very, very clever at locking things away, bundling it up, parceling it up, and sticking it in your recipe card box. Some people have got them steel lined, padlocked, they're never coming open, others aren't. So your brain is wired to look for these triggers and these things in our life and in our world. We no longer have tigers trying to eat us, so your brain is going to look for perceived or things that it thinks are scary and worrisome, and that's where our thoughts come in. All right, so if you're finding it too intense, if you have found that this exercise is really intense, I said get in touch with me at the Strain Tapping Institute. If you head to our website, you'll find a page under how we help find practitioners. You could find a practitioner who will be able to work with you one-on-one and actually deal with your issues, deal with your stuff specifically for you. This class is intended to be global. The words are somewhat global. We are tapping on things without it being very, very specific. That's what we can safely do in classes like this. But if you're working one-on-one with a practitioner, it is way easier to get deep and dives on your own stuff. All right, so what I want you to do with this is every single day for the next 365 days, tap on one of those movie titles that you wrote. Doesn't matter which one. All of this stuff is a little bit like a spider's web. Start to pull the right threads and the whole thing at some point in time collapses in a heap. You don't even need to tap on every single one of them. Lots and lots of them will resolve themselves, collapse themselves, be gone, because they're all so intertwined, okay? So that's what I want you to do. Now, another thing I had for people here is, when you do tapping and you start to get into tapping, what can very often happen is you start to feel really, really good, really, really fast. What I'm going to ask you to do is to never think that you will reduce your own medication, never start to move around with your own prescriptions. If you're starting to feel great, go and see your doctor, your physician, your practitioner, whatever you call them in your country, whatever a doctor, medical professional, whatever it looks like for you. Don't ever be your own doctor and start to think, because I feel so good with my EFT tapping, that it's a replacement for personal care by a trained, licensed physician. It's not. So if you're thinking that, you need to move some medication around, go and talk to them. Don't do it on your own, okay? That is one of the real caveats that I say with people. I know what EFT is going to do for your world if you do it regularly. I know the big changes it's going to make. So don't make the mistake of being your own doctor, all right? That's the only thing. This is a great tool. It is meant to be as a tool. It is a daily tool. To this day, I've been doing tapping. I've had my life coaching business for a decade. I've probably been doing tapping for 6 or 7 years now, and I've had my school for probably 3 years, and I still to this day work with my own EFT practitioner. I work with one of the founding masters, and I still to this day do tapping every single day on something. I don't think I will ever run out of things to do tapping on. I do it every single day. So if you imagine 5 minutes, that's all you do for 5 minutes. You're going to write your list, you'll have your list. 5 minutes a day, stick the timer on, you deal with one of those things. Imagine the difference in your life in a year, because your year's going to pass anyway. So why not do some great work on it while you're doing it? Why wouldn't you? So I'm Lorna, and I own the Australian Tapping Institute. I train practitioners and I train like people to be practitioners, and we add in a life coach certification, and it's a real holistic course that I run. If you're at all interested in becoming an EFT practitioner, you could certainly download our course prospectus. You could also download our, I wrote a book a year or so ago, and it's the ultimate guide to being an EFT practitioner. It's about, 110 pages. I give away that for free as well. And you'll find all of that stuff on our Facebook page if you want to head over there. And to the link in our Instagram bio, you'll find it all in there, and you are very welcome to have whatever you want. Take all the freebie stuff. I have a free program that I run, the Self-Love Project. Same again, head to Instagram, into our bio, head into our Facebook page. You'll find the links to all of these freebies that you're more than welcome to have. Love to know your feedback. Feel free to get in touch with me. There's the email address on the screen if you have more questions or if I can help you in any way. Otherwise, we will see you on the next class. I know there's going to be a little suite of these, so I hope that you enjoy doing them and doing the work as much as I love presenting them to you. So I will see you next time. Thanks for being a fabulous class.